I can't see anything. Are we live? Oh, we're live. It's noon on Friday, March 11th. And this is news that you can use from YAA with your hosts, Zach and Ray. And well, it's Friday, which means it's Kimberly's Corner.
Means there's likely. Pops, I think someone's at the door. Can you let him in?
It is indeed Kimberly Klein, the F&I goddess, ladies and gentlemen.
Getting tight, Pops.
I can't get
Getting tight. Getting tight.
What?
How you doing, Kimberly?
How are you guys doing? Zach, did you not get the memo? Today was merch wearing day.
Yeah, you can't see, but
Now,
I'm wearing if it's negotiable, it's taxable.
Nope, if it's taxable, it's negotiable. Now, let's just take a moment here. If you have not bought YAA merch, I don't think we're doing a great job selling it today because it evidently does not wear particularly well. That's a year's worth of wear on that hoodie.
Listen, I'm going to tell you the truth, and that is I've worn it. It's been a year and a half, almost 2 years now I've worn this, and I wash it all the time because I wear it all the time. So fair. I think it's wearing pretty well. It's so comfy. It's so comfy. I sleep in it. Actually, I just woke up, and I just woke up.
Damn.
Let's kick today's show off. I have a rule. 2 minutes in, we got to at least touch on what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about ways to yourself when you're going through the car buying process. We're going to try and limit the number of jokes you guys are going to make about condoms. I said it. All right. You guys don't have to say it. Now, this is a kids show. Okay. So both of you guys need to watch your mouths today because in the pre-meeting, I heard both of you. Now, I want to start, Kimberly, with the payoff. Okay. So most people, when they're buying a car, it's not their first time. They're typically trading a vehicle. And let's talk a little bit about that process and the payoff and how that can be a source of confusion and frustration as you're buying a car. Kick us off, Kimberly.
Okay. I've read several articles recently, Ray and Zach, about people not properly protecting and preserving their credit because a dealership didn't make the payoff in time. And so let's make everyone aware out there that when you're trading a vehicle in and it still has a loan on it, it is the dealership's responsibility to pay that off. What? Oh my God.
Thank you, Justice.
Leave it to Justice. Yes.
Yes.
So
nothing will protect you for the climax of the deal quite like the F&I condom.
No, we said we're not going to use that word today.
I haven't said it yet. You guys are guilty. But I will if you want me to. So, Ray, I know that you know what I'm talking about. Whenever a buyer walks in and hands over that sticky note to the finance manager or even the salesperson, and they say, here's my payoff. Why do we get so frustrated by this? We can't take that. I appreciate that people do that. And I'm going to tell you how to make things go faster for the finance manager for yourself. But the dealership, either the salesperson or the finance manager, or sometimes both, actually need to contact your lender and get a 10 to 15 day payoff with what is called a per diem. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that don't know what per diem is, but that is the daily interest. So if your payoff is around $20,000, you want to get the per diem. Let's say it's, $1.50 a day. And now we want to add 10 to 15 days of per diem on top of your payoff. We don't want to be short. That's the biggest fear. You never want to be short on a payoff. And that's why the dealership gets that payoff for you.
And the reason you go 10 to 15 days is you have to allow time for the absolute completion of the deal itself, and then for all the paperwork to go through the corporate offices, and for the corporate office to send off a check to the bank for the payoff. Now, if the check that the dealership sends is more than what the payoff is on the day that check arrives, whatever overage there is will go back to the customer. So the customer's not really going to end up overpaying. They're going to pay what they should have and get any of the extra back. But it takes time for all this to happen. And one of the things, and I know you didn't mention it yet, but one of the things that the corporate office desperately needs, because in a lot of cases they FedEx these checks out, you need an actual physical address. You can't use a PO box.
Right.
And a lot of banks will give you a PO box, but you have to ask for the physical address so that they can get the FedEx to the bank in time.
Exactly. And trust me when I tell you that your payment address 9 times out of 10 is not the same as your payoff address.
Exactly.
So that's also another important reason. I mean, I've read these stories where people are saying, hey, I just traded in my vehicle a couple of weeks ago and my old bank is calling me and telling me I'm late on my payment. Protect and preserve your credit. That is not up to the dealership. It's up to you as the consumer to protect and preserve your credit. You need to follow through, make sure the payoff is 100%, and keep making your payments if it hasn't been made yet, especially if you are on automatic withdrawal every month.
Absolutely. And one of the things that as a consumer that you need to do, typically consumers just assume that since they traded the car in, that the dealer they traded it into is going to make the payoff in a timely fashion. And well, some dealerships are having cash flow issues and might not pay things off when they were supposed to be paid off. So you need to be contacting the dealer, someone in accounting or whoever it is that writes the checks, and ask them, what's the check number? What's the tracking number? When did it go out? Because I want to preserve and protect my credit score. And so I want to make sure that this payoff gets to the bank in a timely fashion. Because if it doesn't, it's not harming the dealership. It's harming you.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's what I'm sitting here thinking. Like, what incentive does the dealership even have to make the payoff? Like, I don't.
Well, the real incentive the dealership has, unless maybe you're Carvana, is that you need to have the title to the car in your name, or at least have the title in your possession, so that you can go ahead and sell it.
Yeah.
Now, there are dealerships out there that have had financial difficulties, and they aren't paying off car loans like they're supposed to, and they aren't getting titles back to the trades, and they're selling them before the titles come in, all in an effort to raise much needed cash and to preserve whatever cash they have. So there have been instances and there have been articles written about dealerships that have not made payoffs at all, and suddenly the customer is confronted with having 2 car loans but only 1 car.
Can we touch on something that just popped up in the chat here? It comes from Andrew. Dealers also list cars and sell them before they are paid off too. A Jeep dealer here in Michigan is known to do that. How does this work? Because I know Andrew's right, because heck, I've even seen it. What are the mechanics going on behind the scenes, and are there any concerns for me if I sell my car to a dealership or go through this type of process that are beyond what we've already discussed?
Well, from my experience, I mean, the people that I worked for, they wouldn't allow us to even offer a vehicle up for sale until we had the title. And if the customer couldn't provide us with a title, then we couldn't trade the car. It was just that simple. We could agree to a figure that we would buy the car for once they had the title, but it would be a separate transaction. So technically and legally, a dealership isn't allowed to sell a used car, or any car for that matter, if they don't possess the title to that vehicle, because titles are a negotiable instrument. They prove ownership, and you need to have ownership of something to be able to sell it. So that's the big technicality. Now, do dealerships violate that on a daily, weekly, monthly, minute by minute basis? Absolutely, they do. They shouldn't, but they do.
From
Sure they
Justice
do.
in the chat, those were the days. Wish dealers did that now. Imagine how few cars Carvana would have to sell if they actually did that. Kimberly, what about from your standpoint or your perspective? Anything else to add there?
A lot of times it takes time. Obviously, it takes time. After you've sent that payoff out, I'm talking about the accounting department here, to receive the title back. And so a lot of times they can get what is called a satisfaction letter or a payoff letter that the loan has been paid and that the title is on its way. And that will satisfy it as well. They can put, that's what we used to do before we would put a car out there. We were super, super, super careful about that, though. As Ray said, you have to be really careful. What a nightmare. As you can see, Carvana is having a nightmare.
But then also in the same breath, it's like, but at what cost? Because if you're Carvana, it costs, well, they get fined like $5,000 last
Well,
year.
one of the fines from Florida, it was 6,000. Woohoo!
Cost of doing business is how I think about that.
I mean, that's the way they would look at it. But it can create issues for a dealership, and obviously
Create
that's why
issues for the consumer.
Yes,
Like, yeah, you
but-
guys have taught me a lot here.
But that's why you need to do your due diligence with before you purchase at any dealership.
Definitely.
There was a time
Huh.
you both might find this hard to believe, but there was, and I found it hard to believe at the time. But there was a time I was unemployed, okay, in the car business where I had lost my job, and I was looking for work, and I tried to do due diligence on every dealership that I thought I might like to work at. So I would go to the website and I would read all the wonderful things they would say. And it dawned on me that if all the dealers really did the things they said they did, then there wouldn't be such a bad reputation for automobile dealers in this country. So the due diligence you have to do is the Better Business Bureau, the state's attorney general's office, consumer protection agencies, things of that nature, to find out what's really going on and how some of these dealerships operate. And if there's a lot of complaints filed against a dealership, that should be a red flag for you as the consumer.
Yeah. You want to make sure you have a reputable dealership. Now, to speed the process up as a buyer, and I want to get in and get out of there as fast as I can, not dilly-dally in the finance office, certainly bring in that Post-it note with the information that I said. You want to have the lender's phone number first and foremost, especially if it's after hours. It certainly does help to walk in with the lender's phone number, a payoff address, even though the dealership's going to verify that anyway, your loan number, because when you leave that night, the next morning, they're going to verify that. Give them a good phone number. And the per diem, if you have it. If you don't, again, the dealership's going to just follow up with it. They're going to do it again. But you know what? It sure does help. You will be signing a payoff letter, and many times that payoff letter says, hey, this is the amount we're going to pay off, which means this is the amount you're agreeing to. So if we're short, the responsibility is on you, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, that you need to pay the balance.
Two things I want to bring up from the chat, then I want to switch gears to a post that was in our community that ties back with, again, protecting yourself. Two things in the chat. One is going to be from Alice is Craxy. The Toyota dealership in Moreno Valley in California tried to sell me the GR86, which had an MSRP of $30,861, marked all the way up on that out the door price to $48,000. But when I would have paid it off, I would have paid $51,000. I guess with that interest rate in there as well. Again, we talk about it a lot on this show, back on the YA channel. Car prices are still ridiculous, and if you don't need to buy a car, don't buy one. This is a perfect example of that.
And if I may, just because the dealership is asking for an additional markup, a market adjustment, they're asking. They hope to get it. They might be okay if they don't get it all, or if they only get some of it. But it's like anything. They can ask, you can counter. So you can either accept it, reject it, or amend it as far as negotiating whether or not you would agree to pay over invoice.
One other question here, and this is for you, Pops. BBB versus dealer rater. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what's between the two of you? What are your takes?
Well, dealer rater is...
It's nothing. Dealer rater is nothing.
That answers
dealers
that.
have their salespeople beg their customers to write good reviews for them.
Yeah.
Okay. The Better Business Bureau, as much as some people don't care for the Better Business Bureau, is a place where consumers can go to file what they think are legitimate complaints against a dealer. And consumer protection agencies and consumer affairs offices. There are ways to get a sense as to how the dealership operates.
Come on, gang. Come on. We were queued up for this one.
And then you need to go to YAA, joinyaa.com. You don't need the www from what I understand. And you can, Justice, in one of our advocates, one of our coaches has put together a spreadsheet listing dealer reviews that we've received from our members. So there's another resource for you.
Yes. So back on the community forum, join yaa.com/community. We've got dealership reviews right down here. Let's take a quick peek. There are 165 dealership reviews in here. If you click right here, you'll see the sortable spreadsheet from Justice. But I'm going to hit the back button. We also don't pay for reviews, and there are congratulations to both of you and congratulations to the team. 300 now success stories posted on the community forum. That's an awesome accomplishment for all of us. This one comes from Jody, however, and I want to turn to it as our next story that we talk about in terms of how you can protect yourself or what you need to protect yourself from at the dealership. Kimberly, I'm going to read this real quick, and then I'll hand it off to you, okay?
Okay.
So Jody negotiated the price of her RAV4. She was going to pay MSRP plus a $900 dealer fee. I remember watching a video where Ray was talking about having a purchase order, PO. I requested a purchase order with the car, with the price of the car, dealer fee, registration, tag, title, and taxes. It was a breeze going through finance. I know my credit score, and they had 4 different pre-approval letters. The finance guy gave me the lowest rate for the same period of time and no prepayment penalties, so I went with them. The car comes with Toyota Care, so he explained it to me, and that was that. I read and signed the papers. The last paper he gave me had an additional $1,400 added to the loan. I pulled out my purchase order and compared them. I showed him the purchase order with the negotiated out the door price. He went back into his system, adjusted the price, and printed out another paper. I signed the paper and was out of the finance office within 45 minutes. The entire process took about 2.5 hours. It was mainly because I wanted to read all the documents the salesman gave me to sign. I'm going to give that success story a like. You got to protect yourself right there. And Jody demonstrated it perfectly, Kimberly. What the heck happened?
I am so proud of her because this is it's okay. Part of it is what we talked about last week. And that is, whenever you walk in, what do you say? You say, I know my credit and I know what interest rates are available for me in my credit. As a matter of fact, I have approvals. And what did we talk about last week? Why would a finance manager want to beat that approval or sometimes match that approval? Why? Whenever they're only making $100 maybe from the bank to do that. Well, this finance manager opened up the door for opportunity of payments to throw in some products and sell the payment, which is thing number one. Thing number two was going back to basics, as Ray will say often, and I love this, going back to basics. What are the 2 most important documents in the finance office that you want to compare before you sign?
Well, you always want to compare the agreed upon price that you agreed to with the sales manager and the salesperson out on the showroom floor to what the total price is on your bank contract if you're financing it. You want to make sure those numbers match, that everything lines up and matches dollar for dollar, penny for penny. There should be no discrepancy between those two. There's no daylight between those numbers. It should be the same on your bank contract as it is on your purchase order or buyer's order.
Right. Bottom line, purchase price. Go down through. It doesn't take very long. It really doesn't. Those are the two most important documents. You want to make sure that they all match up so that you don't walk out of there and then you get home and maybe a week later you take that envelope, take your papers out, and you're like, wait, I didn't agree to that. I didn't agree to this. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form here that there was something nefarious going on. Many times in the finance office, the numbers aren't the same when they come back to you from the sales manager. It's the finance manager's job to triple check those numbers and make sure that they match the worksheet that the sales manager has put together for the finance manager. That's called firming up fees and making sure that all the numbers jive with the sales manager's deal jacket. So it's again, not necessarily a nefarious thing. Trust me, the finance manager really doesn't care if, you know, the price is $500 more or less.
This though, Kimberly, speaks volumes to the importance of we talk a lot about, and I've learned over the past 2 years, front end and back end of the deal. On the front end of the deal, getting that purchase order, but and let's be clear, it's just your full out the door price, understanding entirely what you've negotiated, the total purchase price, or on those factory orders, that purchase order. But having that is just so imperative that you can actually then be in a position like Jody was in the finance office. And it's not even necessarily to have leverage. It's just for your own edification and confirmation, which, if you think about it, if you didn't do the homework on the front end, you would have never even been in that position on the back end to question the $1,400. And again, I agree with you. Let's not insinuate that there was anything nefarious there.
Right.
You wouldn't have even recognized it was there, nor would you have even, if the finance manager had come back and said, no, that's what it is. Okay. Like, what am I supposed to say aside from okay? Like, okay, I just worked on this car deal for so long. Now I'm going to walk away. Like, probably not.
I can tell you one of the things that I used to do at the last dealerships that I worked at, the Audi dealership and the Mini dealership for the group that I worked for, is once we agreed to all the numbers with the customer, whatever the agreed upon selling price was and whatever the agreed upon finance payment was and the agreed upon finance rate, we would print out the worksheet that showed the total breakdown of the deal. Okay, the selling price, the discount, the rebates, the cash down, the trade, whatever it was, and what the bottom line number was. And then also on that worksheet was the payment that was agreed to and the term and the rate. And I would sign it as the sales manager, and we would have the customer sign it. We would then give a copy of that to the customer before they even went back into finance. And the copy we kept went to the finance office so they knew exactly how the deal was structured. Now, in a lot of dealerships, they let the finance manager finish up the deal and structure, make sure all the figures are correct in the deal back in finance. Where I worked, we actually went in and inputted the deal as it should be. We used Reynolds and Reynolds, we used ADP. And so we actually did all the deal in ADP, assigned it a deal number, and then sent it back to F&I.
Yes.
So that if there were any changes, the changes came from the F&I manager, and there had to be an explanation as to why, if it was something above and beyond just selling product.
Exactly.
But that's a way to protect the store. It's a way to protect the customer. It's as legitimate and as transparent a manner in which to do it so that everybody can feel comfortable completing the transaction. And Kimberly worked in stores like that. Obviously, I worked in stores like that. Unfortunately, there's any number of stores that don't operate like that. And that's what we're trying to fight against. And that's what we're trying to protect you against.
And she did it the right way. I mean, again, preserve and protect yourself.
Absolutely. So you need the information. You need to compare. It was what did Reagan say back in the 80s? You got to trust but verify. So the same applies to car dealerships. You have to trust, but verify. And you verify by comparing the bottom lines, so that they're the same both on the bank contract and on your agreed upon worksheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy to think. I know a couple of people who are in the process of closing on they just bought homes. And it's just really fascinating. I remember when I did that for the first time, and I remember getting to the end, and I had no clue what I had signed. I had no clue how much I had signed. And like, I generally knew, but I had no clue. And I'm thinking back to when I bought a car and you were there with me, Dad. It was kind of the same experience. I just kind of trusted the fact that you were there. Imagine going into this experience for the first time, second time, third time. It could be your 10th time. And it's very confusing. There's so many numbers, they all change. But what I'm hearing from both of you is get the out the door price, get everything itemized, get the purchase, get it on the front end, and don't be concerned that you're asking for too much, because you're then
Right.
going to use that when you're in the
Mhm.
finance office firming up the deal yourself. And the idea that this industry has operated in a way where the consumer wasn't supposed to firm it up themselves. Yeah, I don't think that's quite right. I'm glad that people are becoming aware to do that. And Jody's story is an awesome testament to it.
And it's
It
still,
really is.
if I may, it still goes back to, if you hear something or don't quite understand something when you're in the finance office, just stop the process and say, gee, could you do me a favor? I don't quite understand how we got from here to here. Can you
Yeah.
explain?
There's a level of like, because we do this show a lot, so I've heard you say that, and I've been in so many experiences in my life, less frequently now that I'm a bit older, but when I was younger, where I didn't feel comfortable like admitting that I didn't understand something, and so I empathize so greatly with people who are in that same position. It takes a level of maturity and comfort with yourself to be that vulnerable and be like, "Hey, I don't get this." And if you're in a situation where someone is intimidating on the other side of the desk, I get why you might not feel comfortable doing that, but that is the sole reason why we created YAA and why you should be texting with Mario or Space or Justice or Phil or Kimberly, like, because you're not alone,
You
And
are
I think
not
that,
alone. No.
yeah, that can give you some confidence, because you're not right. You're not wrong, Dad. Of course you're right, but it's so hard to do it in the moment.
It
Of-
is. And I used to, I would always know. And typically, whenever you're purchasing a vehicle for the very first time, somebody's with you, mom, dad, a best friend, somebody's with you. I personally would always take my time with new people buying a car for the very first time and go over that PO, that purchase order. And I would show them, hey, this matches this. Later, I found out that finance managers don't do that. So I guess that's where the sense of empathy comes in. I always did care about people, but but yeah, if you don't know, it can be intimidating, Zach. I completely hear you and I understand you. And you don't want to stand up and go, wait. Can you go over that with me, please?
There's so many like varied reasons why you wouldn't feel. Yeah. No. All right. Here's the deal, though, gang.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I was busy at work yesterday. I've been busy at work for a little while. This is brand new for both of you, and it's actually not even ready yet. But I'm
Here
gonna
we go.
preview it.
Okay.
we're
I
getting a
love this.
preview.
We're working on.
Okay.
I've been working on this for a couple months now, honestly, and I haven't really talked about it much.
Oh
Okay,
my
so
gosh.
as car prices have been going up, and
Yeah.
people ask us all the time, should I believe KBB? Should I use Black Book? Should I use Carvana? I thought to myself, what if we came up with like our own YAA algorithm? Because we really like Black Book.
Yeah.
Even more than Black Book, we like the idea of go to Carvana and get a real quote for them, go to
Yes.
Carback, Scooter. It's not live quite yet. I mean, you could go to this URL, but there's some bugs and whatnot. When you put your VIN and your state in,
You need Terminex.
you need Terminex.
For the bugs.
Not sponsored.
You'd make a hell of a software engineer, Pops. We built that. That's our algorithm is taking into consideration those varied data points, and we're going to give you back what we think is a fair market value. So you put your VIN and you put your state and you hit next. It just asks you for the mileage and your email address. We're also going to be offering monthly updates. So if you want to get a monthly update of what a vehicle is worth, the vehicle in your garage, a vehicle you're thinking you might want to buy, you can sign up for those as well, and they'll come to your email. We have the deal school, how to maximize your trade-in value, and the latest blog posts we have about trade-in and selling your vehicle, as well as some checklists. I got to organize this and make it designed a little bit easier to read, but my dad took some time. He sat down how to sell a vehicle you own for the most money and how to sell a leased vehicle when you're coming off lease. It's right here as well. So this page should be coming relatively soon. I'm going to say beginning of next week. Maybe we'll have it for tomorrow night's live stream, Pops. But I'm really proud.
So realistically, 10 to 12 years from now.
Yeah, so like I should know by now about expectation setting.
No.
Damn it.
Yeah, yeah. You want to under promise and over deliver, honey, not over promise and under deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
My girlfriend tells me that too.
This should be live by December 30th, 2024. Now, if it happens to come out sooner, we'll be more than happy to let you know.
It'll be free. It'll be free as well.
That
I'm
is
happy about
really,
that.
really cool, though. I want to share something with you, Zach,
Yeah,
on the
please.
heels of all this. There are people out there that are actually skeptical of us because we are so transparent and we're telling the truth and we're peeling back the curtain and the onion and the skin of the onion and all that kind of thing. And they, you know what? I think people are conditioned to put that wall up when it comes to buying a car. And here we are doing our thing and helping people. And there are people that are skeptical of us because we're helping.
Yeah, I appreciate bringing that up. I absolutely love so neither my dad or I graduated from college, but one of the things I did do to kind of build a sense of and man, I got to update this because that's not our name anymore.
No.
But I started writing man, Dad, when was my first blog post on here? I mean,
2016.
No, even earlier.
Oh my.
2015, January of 2015.
Wow.
Why I wish I went to community.
Yeah.
Like you can come here and you can learn about me, our family, how I think about things. Should I go to college? Like I've been transparent since day one. I've wanted to build a company with my dad that's transparent since day one. So we're not hiding anything. I have to Google search that hard to realize that we're not hiding anything.
No.
You can come hang out with us. Like we're pretty. If you see us in public, say hi to us. We all really appreciate that as well. Anyway.
Yeah, that's really cool too.
Let's
That's
call
why
it
I
a
wear
day.
this shirt so that you say hi to me.
Exactly.
For sure. Let's call it a day, gang. Happy Friday. We got some pretty meh weather coming this weekend, so let's all go out and enjoy the sunny weather today. Thank you,
For
Miss
sure.
Kimberly Klein. Thank you, Pops.
Thank you.
And
See you
we'll
guys
be
soon.
back tomorrow night
On the YA channel.
on the
Yep.
YAA channel, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, for Saturday Night Live from the worldwide studios of YAA in downtown Bethesda, Maryland. Yeah, I don't know who our guest is tomorrow night, but we probably won't have one.
See you, Kimberly.
Thank you,
Bye,
Kimberly.
guys. Have a
Thank
great
you, everybody.
Friday.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow and then next week.